Hey, how's it going? I'm Jay, and I'm trying to get better at Strive. 5 months ago I picked up Strive, and slowly I've been getting better. But I want more. I'm self-analyzing and setting myself goals, so maybe one day I can challenge the best of the best. This is my improvement diary. Last time I decided to work on my DP consistency. I say that I hit the actual inputs practically every time now. However, the thing that still continues to be an issue is the timing on wake up. Whilst I am certainly able to threaten the option far more often, there are still times where missing it costs me a round. I'm definitely going to have to keep working at this slowly. Funny enough, this practice actually wound up leading to 2 new habits. Firstly, because I keep trying to practice. Secondly, I'm not quite sure how it started, but I've instinctively been trying to find gaps in block strings. Sometimes I guess correctly, and I interrupt the block string with my DP. But sometimes I'm wrong, and yet I still keep blocking. I have also done this instinctively with mashing in the past. I would input my move whilst I was trying to block, and the move would only come out if there was a gap. If there was no gap, the character just keeps blocking. I've heard this being referred to as a fuzzy mash in the past. But frankly, I've seen the term fuzzy tossed around with so many different variations and meanings that I just don't want to put a name to it. The other task I set myself was to make myself more familiar with the 2K follow-ups. Specifically, I wanted to set up a yo-yo Oki from a 2K into 2D sequence, but at the same time gasling into 6K or 6H on reaction if I was blocked. This was definitely unrealistic. No matter how hard I tried, the window to react to whether my 2K was blocked was just too short. Feeling at a loss, I asked the Bridget Discord for advice, and this led me into learning something far more important. To summarize what I was told, realistically, no one is punishing 2D on block the first few times, nor the yo-yo set afterwards. Only once you believe they've actually started adapting to it, that's when you start mixing it up. Essentially, there's no real need to swap up my options, unless they've shown to me that they can take advantage of my choices. Just one example of this would be if they chose the gap between 2D and yo-yo. If they launched a counterattack doing that, I could just simply not throw the yo-yo and punish them instead. So the more I thought about this, the more I realized that I could actually apply this to the way I play in general. This whole time, I had been so hyper-focused on what I myself had been doing, that I rarely adapted to what my opponent was doing. Funnily enough, during the weekend of my monthly local, my friend and I were playing friendlies. He described that there was a very specific moment where he felt a switch had been flipped, and the games had started becoming harder. That was actually the moment I stopped exclusively looking at my own character and started watching the opponent. I cannot stress enough how much of an impact on my gameplay this has had. I know it seems so obvious in hindsight, but this really never actually crossed my mind at all. Not only can I adapt my gameplay to their habits, but I can actually see the startup for moves, granting me far more time to react accordingly. However, because I'm not actually used to watching my opponents, I sometimes feel like I'm no longer in control of my own character, since I lose track of where they are or I don't get that visual response when I press the buttons. But I'm sure this will improve over time. In general, this was a massive breakthrough for any character in any fighting game that I wanted to play. However, this was only really the first piece of the puzzle for my improvement these past few weeks. This right here is how my block strings have previously been extended. Why? Because I get a 50-50 mix with meter. Well, this is good and all, but it was extremely one-dimensional, and a heavily committal tech that didn't really have that much of a great reward when successful. Frankly, every time I used this option, I would find my pressure would end shortly afterwards. Now, if only there was another way for me to burn meter and extend my pressure. So yeah, I think this tech is fantastic. At a base level, it's another 50-50 mix that provides better reward than the scooter mix. However, I believe the main strength came from the extremely non-committal looking nature of it. Essentially, it just looks and feels like a regular block string. And whilst there's definitely a sequence that needs to be followed to make the mix gapless, the state that you are placed in afterwards just feels so natural to me. That I have had such an easy, easy time continuing pressure compared to the scooter mix. It is important to also look at the brief slowdown after the PRC, where you have the time to watch the opponent and react to whatever they decide to do. This is in fact a huge contributing factor to me finally watching what the opponent does. Before I knew it, it becomes second nature. So Dig Blink probably had no idea that they were going to completely change the way I played with this one video. But recently, I felt my pressure game has improved so much thanks to this, and it has completely warped the way I approach my matches. I think the first goal for this episode should 100% be to continue to develop my newly found sense of observation. If there was any time to watch my opponents and learn what every character is capable of, it would be now. Learning what animations to look out for would help me plan and react, both improving my defense and my neutral. An amazing example of this would be the many times that I have been burst baited. It was suggested that I should hit the books and relearn, or learn in the first place, the visuals for the close slash and the 5k on every single character. But why these moves specifically? Despite the fact that these moves aren't significantly plus, they are in fact jump cancelable, which makes them very easy to bait bursts with. Obviously there are other moves that every character has that could be used for burst baiting, but I think this would be a good starting point. Hopefully I'll gain a lot of mileage just from using these as cues for either delaying my burst or not even bursting in the first place. There is a very obvious mismatch in power when it comes to my offense compared to my defense. I keep getting hit by stray pokes and spacing tools. It wills me down and keeps me out. Whilst my pressure has significantly improved, it means absolutely nothing if I can't get in the first place. Probably the best tool for me to master will be the dash block. What even is dash blocking though? Isn't it just blocking after initiating a dash? Well, yeah, but I feel like there's a little bit more to it. The forms of dash blocking that I'm interested in are the more standard one, which allows me to advance with little to no issues, and the FD variant, which costs meter but also instantly kills momentum, which lets me use it more on reaction. My current issue, other than forgetting that the option even exists, is inputting block far too early, resulting in the backdash instead. At its core, this habitual change is going to take a fair amount of time to get used to, but I'm going to have to actively start trying to incorporate this into my game plan if I want to get any mileage out of it. So I think that compared to last time, my goals are far more open-ended. And I think it will continue to be that way going forward, as these goals are meant to be my main focus, but not my only focus. Matchup specifics and previous goals will continue to be worked on in the background, unless something significant requires more attention. Truth be told, the reason why there was so much to be said about the revelations that happened between episodes is that the first episode took 3 weeks to create. So by the time this one comes out, there would have been 5 weeks between them. Honestly though, I doubt much could have really happened in 5 weeks. Right? There's a story there. But I think that's for another video. Until then, I hope we can keep growing together. I'll catch you in a bit.